Hey there, this is Kurt from Woodwind and Brasswind. Doing a little bit of live streaming this afternoon, talking about home recording basics for horn players. This quarantine time has been great for some of us that needed to spend a little bit more time kind of getting our arms around some of the home recording gear, how to utilize it for practice, trying to kind of make the best out of the situation. And for horn players, this has been a kind of a challenging subject. We're not used to a lot of cables and software, and I often joke that if my trombone, if I play it and it doesn't make a sound, it's pretty easy to figure out why that's the case. With my home recording setup, if I'm trying to do something and there's no sound coming out, it's a little trickier to try to troubleshoot that. And so I want to talk a little bit about some of the overview concepts about setting up your home recording studio, but from the perspective of a horn player. And so we'll kind of walk through the whole signal chain from computer all the way to headphone and speakers with a couple little kind of bonus tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way that has made my recording life just a little bit easier. Again, coming from the horn player perspective. So to start off with, kind of the hub of everything is, of course, the computer. So a lot of people using a MacBook Pro, real common computer. I've got about a 7, 8 year old MacBook Pro that I've taken everything off of except for music software. So it's just built to do music. Anything in about the 6 to 8 year old range works pretty well. If you're a PC user, lots of ability to connect with a PC, no problem there. Most of the software and hardware is basically platform agnostic, and so you can start off with whatever you happen to have. Again, a lot of people tend to gravitate towards the Apple ecosystem, a lot of the product real plug and play. And one of the great pieces about the MacBook Pro is it's got enough power to drive your sounds because a lot of the sounds today are actually driven from the computer. The old days, you had a whole bunch of outboard gear, plugging in racks and keyboards, and had to run signals through mixers. Now all that's taken care of in the laptop computer. Again, for us horn players, that's nice because I can carry around a laptop pretty easily, work on recording wherever I'm at versus carrying around the old days, maybe a 4-track cassette recorder or something else like that. So very practical, and really anything in the 6 to 8 year old range just works fine. If you've got an iMac at home, that works great. A couple things to be wary of. Some of the other Apple products, like say the MacBook Air, doesn't quite have enough power to do everything that you want to do recording wise. And so just make sure you read up a little bit on some of the software you want to use to find the right vintage of laptop to use. Of course, something brand new will work great. Very much plug and play. The next step in the signal chain is the computer will use some recording software. The Mac comes with a great program like Garageband. I like to think of Garageband as kind of the student model of the recording setup. When I was a beginning trombone player, I had my student model trombone, and as soon as I got a little bit more advanced, that student model trombone was not going to be able to keep up with me as a player, and so I needed to advance to something a little better. GarageBand is pretty similar. You kind of start out with GarageBand as your student model, but pretty soon you're going to want to advance to something else. And there are a number of good reasons why, again, as a horn player, you want to do something a little bit more elaborate. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. And the good news is the software that's out there is really not that expensive, and you can get a lot of it for free as a bundle when you buy an audio interface. We'll talk about that in just a second. And I definitely encourage you to find one of the entry-level software programs, because a lot of the features and functionality, again, thinking about it from a horn player, how many times tracks can I record? Does it have some built-in effects? Can I do export to different formats so that I can share it with my friends? Very much conducive to recording as a horn player. Not so much with GarageBand, other than, say, laying down your basic ideas. The next step, you've got your computer, you've got your software. The next step is you need sort of input device. So we're going to eventually record our trombone, but we're going to maybe need to lay down some chords, maybe lay down a drum track. And there are a couple kind of really cool little products that I like to use. Again, all in the interest of being compact, easy to carry around. The first is little mini keyboard. There are a number of these out on the market. I happen to have one of these Akai MPK Minis. It's 25 keys, super lightweight. It's all black, right? None more black. What could be cooler than that? They've got a version that's white, a version that's red and white. Really lightweight. Again, easy to store in the pocket of, say, a briefcase, one of the side pockets on one of my trombone cases. Take it around. Super lightweight. Connects via a USB connection, so right into the laptop. No interfaces needed. And one of the great things about this is I've also got some drum pads built in. So if I'm going to make a simple drum pad, drum background to play along with, it's all right there. Keyboard super self-contained. Really easy little package. Just so that I can lay down some chords, lay down maybe a basic bass line so that I can practice with it or play with it. There we go. Another really cool product that I love to use for my practicing is this little Novation Launchpad controller. It's a kind of a 10 by 10 grid that will, 8 by 8 grid that will let you assign different samples and loops to different squares within the controller. And so I can assign a bass part in G here, a bass part in B flat, a bass part in C, drum track, maybe a guitar pad or a guitar track or a piano sound. It gives me some options to practice with. Kind of a really handy thing as I'm either warming up or working on maybe some songs or maybe improvising in a key that's not that familiar. Great for working with Ableton Live. Again, another great kind of entry-level software program. Ableton Live. I also really like the PreSonus Studio One software, recording software. That's what I use with my practicing. Super easy to get around on. Very kind of user-friendly for a non-tech person like myself. All right, so we've got the computer. We've got sounds on the computer. We've got recording software. We've got input device, either my pad controller or my keyboard. The next step in the signal chain is we need some sort of audio interface, because ultimately I want to get my trombone, I want to record some sounds and be able to, to play along with some stuff and get my music into the laptop. And the audio interfaces, most of these are actually really small. Again, super portable, easy to store in my briefcase or something. Take the microphone input here, it converts it into USB, which will go into the computer then for recording. I can take two different inputs. I can run out from here into headphones, into speakers. If I've got a MIDI keyboard, maybe an older controller or something, it'll take the MIDI input and convert that also into USB. Really, really portable, lightweight. But one of the things that I always recommend to people, because some of this gear you can find used online, absolutely. Great way to save some money. But the audio interface is actually one that you might want to spend a little extra budget and make sure you buy a new one, because these today come with a lot of really good software. And this isn't just kind of throwaway software that you're going to use maybe one of the pieces and the rest of it is just kind of garbageware. Actually, the software that most of these interfaces comes with is real good stuff that I use every day. They'll have maybe the light version of one of the recording packages like Studio One that normally would be like 99 bucks. Will come free with the audio interface. There are also some really cool packages of the interface, microphone, headphones, and all the cables you need to get it going. Really good way to kind of get yourself going without having to spend a lot of budget on some individual equipment. So really like the portability of these. And again, think about buying new in this case, because the software it's going to come with is actually really, really useful. And think about the bundles too. Headphones, microphone, kind of a real good option for an all-in-one package. So we've got our interface. Interface is going into the computer. Got our input devices. The next thing we need, microphone. Because again, I'm a horn player. I want to record my trombone, playing with some stuff. And the next thing we're going to do is get our microphone plugged into here. And a microphone, we could do a whole hour-long session on just recording for horns and microphones. And, at the end, we'd all be confused and think they all sound great. So really, this is one of the areas where you can use a basic kind of $100 Shure SM58 to get yourself going. Super war horse of a microphone. Sounds great. Really durable. Microphone, you'll need a stand and a cable. And while you're at it, buy two cables. because sooner or later one of your cables is going to go on the fritz, and then you're going to be stuck with no mic cable, especially when you're going to do some sort of important recording. So I always think if I've got a cable, I always want to have a backup cable for that time when the cable breaks. Oh, and I see one on my mic cable here. This is a super kind of a home studio hack. These little D'Addario cable ties. Does anybody out there use these? You coil up your cables and then you wrap the cable tie around the cable to keep it all super compact. If you're somebody that really likes organization in your life and likes to keep all of your things organized, I'm not that way, but man, I'll tell you what, I like my cables organized. And so this is one way to keep all of your cables from becoming a whole rat's nest of stuff and you're untangling them. I think like a 10-pack of these or a 6-pack of these is like $6 or something. A 10-pack for $6. Probably the best $6 you'll spend on studio equipment. I guarantee it. I love these things. So mic stand cable is going into our audio interface. The interface goes into the laptop. We're running some basic software like Studio One. We've got our controller, either a keyboard, our Novation pad controller, triggering that. Kind of the next step is some headphones. And this is an area where, again, huge wide range. You could spend $10, you could spend $1,000. This is one where I'd actually encourage you to spend a little bit more budget. And when we're talking about headphones and talking about recording and hearing yourself play, making your own music, your Apple iPhone headphones are probably not the right choice. Those are really not built for kind of critical listening with a real flat response so that you can pick out high end, mid range, low end. Again, your sound is important. You know, my trombone sound is me, and I want to hear kind of the cleanest sound that I can. And the iPhone headphones are really not ideal for that. So I like to spend a little extra money to get some nice headphones. And I always like to have the ones that go over your ears, not necessarily on top of your ears. And this is for a couple of reasons. It helps to block out some of the sound around you, but also tends to have a little bit better bass response, I find. These are Sennheiser's, what is it, HD 280s. These are about $100. Really comfortable to wear for a longer period of time, but definitely spend a little bit of extra budget and get some nicer headphones rather than just kind of the cheapest thing you've got around, or in some cases your iPhone headphones. That might be handy for listening if maybe you're playing something and wondering how is it going to sound on your friend's iPhone with his headphones. But ultimately, if we're making music here, I want to get the best possible sound I can, and so spend a little bit of extra budget for some nice headphones. One other thing that you also might consider, if you do a fair amount of gigging, no doubt you've had to play in a scenario where you use in-ear monitors that'll go right inside your ears, some studio quality monitors, and that can actually be really handy, especially for those of you that might be trombone players. So wearing these and then picking up my trombone and playing is really hard. The horn kind of knocks into there. It's not super comfortable. And so if your trombone player, some in-ear monitors are great. You can actually get, for just a couple $100, some really nice sounds. And if you're gigging a lot, sooner or later you're going to be in a scenario where you probably need to use some in-ear monitors. Really handy. So I can use that to mix. I can use kind of my nicer headphones. And again, something that you might want to spend just a little extra budget in that part of the signal chain. You can also use some home studio monitors. And these are a little different than, say, your typical bookshelf stereo speakers. Again, the frequency response of your home audio product is really set to be kind of this really woofy low end, really crisp high end. But a home studio monitor setup is really made to be real flat, so you can hear all the pieces, all the parts, and kind of give it the appropriate treatment for what you're looking for, not what the speaker is automatically giving you. That's one of the reasons why some of the headphones, if you listen to like headphones that are kind of designed for DJs, I've got some V-Moda headphones that sound great for listening to kind of real thumping, high energy music. But when I try to listen to my home recordings through that, it's just real low end, real woofy, because the response in those headphones is really built to be that thumping, low end power response, which isn't what I'm really looking for from my trombone, obviously. So some studio monitors, you can get big sizes, small sizes, sometimes called near field reference monitors. Again, something like that's going to be a little bit better than, say, using just some home stereo speakers, because the response is going to be more designed for a recording atmosphere. So again, we've talked about laptop, has the recording software, has the sounds built into it. A lot of the software comes with great sounds. It's all done inside. That goes to our audio interface where I'm recording my trombone, microphone, cable, stand. I'm going to plug that microphone into there. I've got an input device that maybe I can trigger some loops from, maybe use a keyboard to play a bass line. And then headphones or studio monitors is kind of the full signal chain. Now, there are a couple other little kind of studio hacks that I found, products that actually make your life a lot easier. Again, if you're a horn player, I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to like make the perfect recording studio here. We're not here making albums, all right? We're having fun. We're recording our own compositions. We're sharing music with our friends. I'm having my buddy send me a drum track. I'm going to play with that. I'm working on my own tunes. This is really set up to kind of make my musical experience grow. And there are a couple of really cool products that I've run across that I use that surprisingly make your life a lot simpler. I'm going to grab one of these here. This little power strip. This is a D'Addario. I think it's called a touring power bass or something. D'Addario makes this, and I often joke with the guys at D'Addario. They keep coming out with products that I had no idea that I actually needed until I got one and started using it. So we all have these power strips at home, right? The little white one that's got like 7 holes on it and a cable that's maybe about this long that can't actually reach to anything. And one of the other downsides of that is if you've got a power adapter that's maybe one of these wall wart power adapters that takes up a couple of spots, now you've only got 5 and one of these has to go sideways, and it's just not ideal for a recording setup. And this touring power bass is super cool because number one, this is a kind of a heavy duty chassis. This is not a little plastic thing. It's got 3 of the outlets are spaced further apart. So if I've got a big adapter like this for the interface, I've got room for that. Also, the cable is about, I don't know, 7 or 8 feet, and it actually wraps around the unit. So when I go to wrap this up and put it in my bag for transport, I just slide it right down in the bag. I don't have this kind of wonky wrapped power supply. It's just super clever. And again, every time I think that they come out with a product that I don't really see a market for, I start using it and I'm surprised that it actually solved a problem I didn't realize I had. And that's space for the outlets plus wrapping up the cord into here, and has little, I don't know, little kind of arms around it. So when I wrap it up, the cord stays secure. It's so clever. Just such a clever product. There's also one other D'Addario product that I absolutely love that helps kind of keep my home studio life organized. So if you're like me, you're kind of constantly setting up and tearing down things, and you're working on this on the kitchen table. Now I'm working at this at the desk, and okay, maybe I'm traveling this week and I need to put a couple of things in a bag. D'Addario makes this really cool product. This is a backline gear transport pack. It's a big name for this, but it's like your ultimate storage backpack. And I didn't realize I needed something like this until I got one. And even if it did nothing more than store all my cables, look at this, all the cables store right in here with, of course, my D'Addario cable ties. And all I have to do is slide them in, take them out. I got mic cables, I got quarter-inch cables, got an extension cord. Just unbelievably handy to have that right on hand. Other pockets, it'll store extra microphones. Got strings in there. I've got headphones in the top, pedals. It's got straps on the side that if I was gigging, I could take a mic stand. I could take my trombone stand if I needed to. Compartment for laptop in the back. This is just a really, really cool product. Again, something I had no idea that I actually needed for my home studio until I got one and started using it and realized, you know what? I've just been keeping cables in baskets or kind of stacked on top of each other on a shelf. And this actually helps keep my home studio life organized, which is, I think, exactly what it's supposed to do. And really, really well made. I'm just incredibly impressed with the folks over at D'Addario that they keep coming up with this stuff that I had no idea that I really needed until I actually needed it. So again, kind of recapping what we've talked about, this is really the home studio introduction if you're a horn player. And I just want to use my trombone. I want to make some music. I want to practice some of my own compositions, maybe play some duets with myself, maybe share some tracks with my buddy down the street. We're going to have our computer. Any basic MacBook is a great choice. 6 to 8 years old is just fine. Should be able to run everything just fine. A lot of sounds built in. You can get the software for free when you buy an interface. And we're not talking about cheap throwaway software. This is actually really good stuff that I use every day, all day long, that came free with the interface. The computer, the software, the interface. This is actually a little PreSonus guy. I really like these. Super handy. Going to come with the free software. You can get these in some packages with headphones, microphones, kind of all the different pieces you need. The audio interface, microphone, stand and cable. Microphone's something you don't have to spend a ton of budget on. Just a basic Shure SM58 is a great way to start. And when you're buying cables, mic cables for that, buy two. Because inevitably, you're going to have one that's going to go on the fritz right about the time that you need it to record something. And a mic stand. And get a boom mic stand, especially if you're a horn player, because getting it to kind of the right angle to fit your instrument so that you're not whacking the stand with your slide is really important. So I always recommend to get a boom stand. It's just a little bit more than, say, a straight stand with a gooseneck or something. Really important in that area. Headphones, spend a little extra budget to get some nicer headphones, something with a real nice response. And definitely ones that are closed back, so they'll go over your ears, not just kind of on top of your ears. Definitely recommend that. And then finally, if you've got space and want to have some studio monitors, go that route rather than, say, kind of running through home stereo speakers. Again, the response of the studio monitors going to be much flatter, much easier to hear the different parts of your music. So that's a little bit of a kind of an overview of getting your home studio together from the perspective of a horn player so that I can make my music the way I want to make it. So thanks for taking a listen. This is a crazy time for a lot of musicians out there. Some really good music being made via live streams right now. I've heard a number of great stuff going on this week. If you have a chance to check some stuff out, please do. Spend a little bit of time hearing some of these musicians playing for free. And feel free to make a donation to them if they have a donation site set up. Or next time they come through town, go to a concert, maybe download one of their albums, maybe buy some merch. Just a really important time to be out there supporting music in every way that we can. So thanks again for listening. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll catch up again soon.